Have you ever stopped to think that the shape and the feel of a medicine, that's just as important as the actual drug inside it? I mean, it's not just a simple pill or cream. It's a tiny piece of precision engineering. Okay, let's dive into this absolutely fascinating world.
Right. This is the world of what we call pharmaceutical dosage forms. It's the science of, well, packaging a medicine so it works perfectly once it's inside your body. And it's a huge field. We're talking everything from solids and liquids to even gases. Today, we're going to break down the science behind the three most common forms you're likely to come across.
So first up, we've got solids. Think about your tablets, capsules, and powders. They are, by far, the most common dosage form, and for good reason. So let's start with the absolute classic, the tablet.
The humble tablet really is a marvel of practicality. It's designed to deliver a super precise dose every single time. Plus, it's pretty inexpensive to make, it's easy to ship all over the world, and it's incredibly stable, which gives it a really long shelf life. That combination makes it the absolute workhorse of the entire industry.
But here's the thing, making that perfect, durable little tablet is actually a lot harder than it looks. It's this delicate dance of pressure and moisture and chemistry. So, what happens when that dance goes a bit wrong?
Well, this is where you get the hidden dramas of the factory floor. If there's just a bit too much pressure, or maybe some air gets trapped inside, a tablet can suffer from something called capping or lamination. It literally splits apart. Or if the formula is too moist, it can get sticky and clog up the machinery. Each one of these flaws tells a story, and more importantly, a flawed tablet could mean an incorrect dose. That's why getting this right is just so critical. And that brings us to a really crucial quality control term, friability. Think of this as a stress test for tablets. It measures how well they can survive the whole journey from the factory to your medicine cabinet without chipping or breaking. It's an absolutely vital test that makes sure the pill you end up taking has exactly the dose you were prescribed.
Now, powders are a different beast altogether. See, unlike a solid, stable tablet, they can be surprisingly dynamic. Some powders are hygroscopic, which means they act like a tiny sponge, pulling moisture right out of the air. Others are efflorescent. They do the exact opposite and release their own water. And then you get deliquescent powders, which are so thirsty for moisture they can literally dissolve themselves into a puddle. All right, next up, let's move from the things we swallow to the things we apply to our skin, the semi-solids. We're talking about your ointments, creams, and gels.
So, what is the actual difference between an ointment and a cream? I mean, they seem similar, right? Well, it all comes down to one thing: water. Ointments are what we call anhydrous. That's a fancy way of saying they have no water in them. This makes them greasy and occlusive, so they form this protective barrier that doesn't wash off easily. Creams, on the other hand, do contain water, which makes them less greasy and much easier to wash off. So a doctor might choose an ointment specifically to lock moisture into really dry skin.
So here's the crucial point, the main takeaway. If you need a simple way to remember it, just think of it like this. Ointments are oil-based and creams are water-based. That one simple difference dictates everything: how they feel, how they work, and what they're used for. And finally, let's explore the most chemically complex category of them all: liquids. Now, this is where we get into the real challenge of mixing things that, by their very nature, just do not want to mix. Welcome to the world of suspensions and emulsions. Honestly, the best way to think about a suspension is to just picture a snow globe. You've got these tiny solid particles, that's the drug, and they're just floating or suspended in a liquid. Now, if you let it sit, gravity eventually takes over and all those little particles settle at the bottom. And that is exactly why you so often see "shake well before use" on the bottle. And this is where pharmacists face a really interesting trade-off. A deflocculated suspension, well, it looks nice and uniform. But the problem is, its particles can form this hard cake at the bottom that's really difficult to shake up again. A flocculated system, on the other hand, looks kind of clumpy and, well, unsightly. But those clumps are loose, and they shake up really easily, which ensures you get an accurate dose every time. So in a strange twist, what looks worse is actually much, much safer. Okay, next up, emulsions. If a suspension is like a snow globe, then an emulsion is basically salad dressing, right? It's a system where you take two liquids that just hate each other, like oil and water, and you force them to mix. The real challenge, though, is getting them to stay mixed. And the secret to making that happen lies in this amazing concept: the hydrophilic lipophilic balance, or HLB for short. It's a scale that scores a special ingredient called a surfactant on how much it loves water versus how much it loves oil. Getting this balance just right is the absolute key to creating a stable emulsion that won't separate out.
It's a brilliant system, really. But how does a scientist or a pharmacist actually take this number and use it to build the perfect, stable liquid medicine? How does it work in practice?
Well, they use this scale. By choosing a surfactant with the perfect HLB value, they can control the entire nature of the emulsion. See, low HLB values are what we call lipophilic or oil-loving, and they're used to create water-in-oil emulsions. Higher HLB values are hydrophilic or water-loving, and you use those for oil-in-water emulsions. It's just elegant chemistry in action, isn't it?
So let's tie this all together, shall we? From the simplest tablet to the most complex liquid, we've seen again and again how a drug's physical form is absolutely fundamental to how it functions.
So here are the key takeaways. First, solid forms like tablets are the champions of the industry, and we value them for their accuracy and stability. Second, with semi-solids like creams and ointments, it's all about that oil versus water balance for getting the medicine delivered effectively through the skin. And third, liquid forms use some seriously clever chemistry to solve that age-old problem of mixing things that just don't want to cooperate.
And that really brings us to the most important point of all. The dosage form isn't a passive thing. It's not just a bit of sugarcoating or a simple carrier liquid. It is an active, engineered delivery system. Its entire purpose is to make sure the drug inside it can get to the right place at the right time to do its job properly. You know, the science of drug delivery is always pushing forward. We've gone from ancient powdered herbs to personalized 3D printed pharmaceuticals that can be tailored to a single person. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What does the future hold for the shape of medicine? What will the next breakthrough actually look like? Next episode, we will be talking about anti-cancer drugs and chemotherapy. Be sure to join in.